So this is our topic, Sanatana Dharma. When did it start? Basically Vedic, we say Vedic culture or Vedic Dharma or Vedic lifestyle. So we are going to discuss this topic today. In ISKCON Bhopal, I took a 3-day seminar on this. It's in Hindi. It's more elaborate. Today, because it's only one day, so I will be focusing more on the central point of this and not going into very details. And call to action would be that you can see a link here on the top. That's a link to a form. So if you feel that okay, we want to go in more detail and discuss about this topic, and if you are desiring, then you can fill that form, and if sufficient number of students are there, students or elders, whoever is there, who are desirous of having in detail discussion or seminar, then we can have a 3-day seminar, either online or offline. So this form is there, and there is also this link will always be displayed, and at last I will also display this where is the QR code. This QR code is for this link only. Okay, so we will start with the topic. I will be repeating some things from different angles of vision. So anyway, students should be able to catch more quickly. So first of all, I will request everyone to silent their mobiles. I have done mine. Now, for last 4 or 5 years, and in last 2 or 3 years more, it is good that among Indian youth there is a wave of Sanatana Dharma. You can see from different ways that they are now, there is some atmosphere that we should go back to our Sanatana Dharma, start following that and not trying to imitate the Western culture, which usually we do. So that particular idea has come, and that's fortunate that we should go back to our history. And there may be many reasons for that, but yeah, that idea has at least come. In our generation, that is one generation before you. Our generation means we were in college in 2001 till 2005, 6, 7, 8, like that. This is becoming again and again. Now it will not. So in our generation there was no such thinking about what is our roots, historical roots, or either Vedic is good or bad. No such question was asked in our generation. Some intellectuals who want to think everything out, that what is there, this universe, those people, and I was one of them, would ask that okay, all these people, now science is advanced, so we know more from science, so these people were just believing something. So like that I was also you can say Nastika or atheist. So such people even was thinking about at that time that there could be something like Vedic Bhagavad Gita, or one should do. Otherwise, in our youth time, everybody was just enjoying life. That's it. No other thought that any such thing as Vedic is there or not. In fact, I didn't even know the difference between Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam. I didn't know that there is something called Bhagavatam. Only Bhagavad Gita, because I heard so many times that name, so I heard something like Bhagavad Gita is there, that's it. A generation before our generation, that's generation of my fathers, They were in college around about 1975. In that generation, they were very much enamored by modern developments. At that time, TV had come. My father is a TV repairer. Whole life he repaired televisions. So they were thinking of Vedic culture and thinking of that as bad, something which made us fall into the trap of British. That following Vedic culture is what do you say? Pichhadapan. What do you say in English? Backwards. It's all old people, those who did not know anything, those who were all fools, they used to do that. Now we understand we should not be doing that. Although in our childhood we had been in villages and spoiled our life like that, following our father. But anyway, now we are young and we should not be following it, and this is very good and we should be following it. This type of understanding was rampant at that time. And you can see that those people are now 60, 70 years age. You will still find that same mentality even in them now. Before that, the generation before that, they had this strong idea that India should become independent and we will not be following the Vedic Dharma because of all these things we fell into the trap of Britishers, and they were just focusing on how to get independence and how to shape the independent nation. These are the types of Ambedkar and the followers of that type of people, the Swatantra Senanis. They were not much into Vedic things. So these type of attitudes have changed along the time. A generation before that, people were worried about Vedic culture, that Vedic culture we all are following, and what will happen, all these modern people are coming and they are going to spoil everything. So they were very much worried about that generation. And they were seeing how the Britishers are killing the Vedic things. So like this, intellectuals at that time were already against Vedic culture. So like this. So over several generations, these attitudes towards Vedic culture and the way of life which we live have changed, generation by generation. So today, now people are again thinking back that maybe that Vedic culture was good, we should be living it, let's see. That type of idea has come. So maybe in a few generations, we will be back to Vedic culture, hopefully. Or maybe we will be forced to go back to Vedic culture, because non-Vedic cultures do not last many generations. You can see the Chinese have fallen. US is already gone almost in societal thing is zero. People dream to go to US, but now no more that will be the case, because society is a chaos right now. Usually the non-Vedic cultures fall away. So that is the topic of our discussion. That non-Vedic cultures, the cultures which are not Vedic, they stay for some time and end. What happens? They begin at some point. They follow that type of lifestyle which goes on changing with time. It goes on for some generations and then that falls down. For example, Roman civilization, it started, stayed for some time, fell. Any civilization you take, it starts, stays for some time and falls. So that is called non-Sanatana, temporary. Sanatana, the word means that which has no beginning, it didn't start any time, and that which does not end. That is called Sanatana. So Vedic culture is called Sanatana Dharma. So the very question, when did it start? When did it start is a wrong question, correct? If Vedic culture is Sanatana Dharma, then Sanatana Dharma cannot start at any time. That's a basic definition. Now, a question will remain that is Vedic culture Sanatana? That is a different question. But what we think of Sanatana Dharma, because today this word is very famous, correct? Sanatana Dharma. It's given in Vedas, the literatures, Vedic literatures. And mostly those who want to be dharmic today in India, in this dharmic wave currently going on among youth, they speak of Sanatana Dharma. But most people, even they speak of Sanatana Dharma, they do not understand the real meaning of it. They think it started at some time. So, my question would be, when did it start? And the direct answer is, it did not start. That's the conclusion. It did not start. It is there right from the beginning of universe. Here's some question.
I can't help but point out the way you put it, that throughout the generations, how our understanding of Vedic culture has changed. So then before, the generation before the freedom fighters, they believed in Vedic culture. And then
they lived Vedic culture.
They lived Vedic culture. They followed all the practices.
Yes, lifestyle,
and
yeah.
We still fell to the British. And after that, they stopped following. Then we got amazing freedom fighters. And they gave us something really beautiful called the Constitution. After that, we had another generation which still did not believe. That's your parents' generation.
Yes.
So that makes it sound like Vedic culture is an issue.
Is the?
It's an issue.
Issue means it's not good in that one. Yeah, that we will come to. But right now the question is it Sanatana, eternal, or it did start? Right now that is the topic. So we will come to that. Is it an issue? Is it not an issue? Did we fall to British really because of the Vedic lifestyle? Or is non-Vedic lifestyle the current lifestyle? Is it giving us more benefit? These are all the questions which we need to ask ourselves, because we take it for granted that the modern civilization which we have is better. That's what we take it for granted. But we should really ask those questions, that is it really? We have to see the results of that, correct? So an intelligent person will really ask, is it really going to help? That's why the whole idea is that the whole new wave of Vedic Dharma in youth has come. One of the main or major reasons for that is the experience of previous generations, that how the societal system is falling away, how the new generations are becoming more and more uncontrolled, and many of such things are there. And those who have seen living in the Vedic lifestyle, they are able to relate to it, that that was much better lifestyle than what we have now. So we have to always compare, correct? Compare and see, is the path on which we are going really proper? Otherwise we need to rethink over those things.
Okay, let's compare that generation which was under the British rule while following the Vedic culture, and right now, which one is better?
Well, let's compare. That's right, and we can compare it. But should we start that comparison right now? We can do that. We can do that. Okay, some explanation. Okay, some points we can compare. For example, let's take age. How much people live, the life duration, for example. So there are around 20 students sitting here. I can give you one exercise. How much your grandfather lived, how much your great grandfather lived, how much your great great grandfather lived, as much as you are able to know, till then you go, plot a graph, and you will see a degradation. That's everywhere. My father just 15 days back, he died, 68 years old. My grandfather, he died 89 years old. My great grandfather, he died 95 years old. So like that, you certainly will see some degradation. So, and that's there in Shastra. 5,000 years back, it was said, Ayuhu, the life duration will reduce. Tataschanu dinam dharma satyam shocham kshamadaya kalena balina rajan nangshanti ayur balam smritihi. So ayuhu, we just discussed one. Now second thing, health. Health wise, you see, you compare, and you need to get to the real data, and you yourself can also compare from your village days, those who are coming from village. In villages, they usually didn't have doctors. And people were not dying out of some disease. Usual people didn't have disease. Even today, those normal villages which are not near cities, means I have stayed in many such villages. So those who are working hard on farms and other normal people, they don't get sick. Even if they get sick, just some simple medicine will work, not the allopathy medicine, something they will take from farm, and that will be okay. So if some doctor is there, one clinic is there of doctor, then hardly he will be able to survive, because people are not getting sick. My mother's father's father, he died 98 years old. Till the time he died, he had his own teeth. And he never saw a doctor. And he was eating, Hindi में हम बोलते हैं रोटला, 2 thick chapatis of bajra with full ghee every day twice till the time he died. Now today even the youth can't do that. Only in last 5 years his eyes stopped seeing clearly. So these are the type of health which they had. It's not just my mother's father's father, but many of the people at that time who I know had very good health. I myself know about myself, I am not very good health compared to my father's. And there is a very substantial reason behind that. Currently, today we have the medical system which is centralized, and you need to study for that. And then it's a medicine based, that's why it is called medical system, medicine based medical system, which is actually a mistake. The medical system, now we are going into more details, I don't want to discuss this in very detail because we have less time, but the medical system was previously in hands of household ladies. Currently what the MBBS doctors do, means the type of things which they treat every day, clinics, were just dealt with by experienced ladies in house. Each and every lady will learn from the childhood how to do that. And that's why you see they have that mentality. The women have that mentality of taking care of the body. Correct? You all know. I don't need to tell you. And that's why you see the nurses are mostly successful nurses, good nurses are women. So they have that mentality, somehow nature has given that. And in Vedic culture, women had that role in their house. And it makes sense, because children are going to be taken care mostly by women. So if women are not trained into these medical things, what to eat, what not to eat, in everyday food, they will be making food in such a way that it is medicine. It will not, it will be preventive to diseases, depending on different seasons. And there are such practices. Even now there are practices, and the elder ladies, they would say, oh, do this, don't do this, at this time don't do this, at this time don't do this. And those who follow that become very strong in health. And that is one reason. So medical system, if you see right now, we have so many clinics and so many hospitals, and all are full. And that means people are becoming more sick. And we see, on an average, at least for myself, yearly 3 times I become sick, to the extent that I need to intake some medicines. But because I follow some of the food schedules and other things, so mostly I don't need allopathic medicines, because I reverted back to that system. Even in this particular times, it is giving benefit. So this is another just small example. Then you see the societal stability, the family stability. Where is family stability compared to what it used to be previously? Previously, no one had heard of divorce. Today, 50% at least get divorced. We may think that it is pragati or development, but actually it is not development. That means one is not able to stay with each other, because of which divorce is there. Because in any relationship, there will be fights. Chanakya Pandit says that Rishi Shraddhe Ajayuddhe Rishi Shraddhe Ajayuddhe Prabhate Megha Garjane Dampatya Kalha Chaiva Bahuvarambhe Laghu Kriya. Rishi Shraddhe means those rishis who are living in the forest. So if they give you invitation that there is a big festival of Shraddha, come. Usually Shraddha will have a lot of feast. But if there is a Shraddha in jungle of Rishi, then you go with expectation, oh, there will be big feast. And then you go and there will be only some roots and fruits, because they have that only. So Bahu Arambha means in beginning it looks like it's big thing, but Laghu Kriya, it comes out to be small. So Rishi Shraddhe Ajayuddhe, 2 goats are fighting. So it looks very serious, something very big fight is going to happen, and nothing happens. It's a small fight and then goes away. Prabhate Megha Garjane, that in the morning if there is a big Megha Garjana, means clouds are roaring, then usually there won't be much rain, as much as what it shows. So these are all examples given to put the point. Dampatya kalaha chaiva bahuvaram belaga kriya. Dampatya means between husband and wife. So kalaha means fight. So fight between husband and wife is also like that. That when they are fighting, it looks that something big is going to happen, but actually it is not going to happen. So we do not know that, and that's why we go on thinking, oh, this will happen, and then what will, then my life will be spoiled and her life will be spoiled, better get divorced. But fighting between husband and wife is not a new phenomenon. It is going on for centuries, and they did not take it very seriously, and things got settled. That's how they were quite stable families. But after the divorce law had been passed in 1970s, I think, then this type of problems started. So now it's very difficult. If you get married and then divorce, then you may have to pay a lot of money, especially the men suffer, because the laws are such that men suffer more. No one will hear men has to give so much money. Even if the only 1 month has gone. So marriage, so because of troubled marriage life, and the children also becomes troubled because they don't get love. You understand? Children don't get love. More and more it is happening. You might have got love from your mother because your mother was still from the comparative older background. But see your generation's next children, I am clearly seeing they are not getting love because mother is working outside, father is working outside, child is going to school, he will come back, these all have not come back, something would have been kept in fridge, so you take it and eat. No feeding, nothing. Or you order on Amazon or Swiggy or something and then you eat. So it becomes like food centered, it is not love centered. So when the children so when children get brought up in such an atmosphere, then what happens that they do not develop relationship with people, they develop relationship with things. Because of that it becomes selfish, completely selfish, and that breaks the society because then they don't want to be in family anywhere. Families are broken. When families are broken, then the society is broken. So previously you see there were quite big families, they were living all together, and that gives a good economic support. Correct? Anyone, suppose a person gets his leg broken for his whole life, what he will do? If the bigger family is there, they take care of him. Otherwise government has to take care. So like this, we can go on discussing n number of things about the modern culture vis-a-vis the Vedic culture. So in short, the modern type of culture, because it is not based on Vedic culture, it has seeds of its own destruction. So this way it is destructing itself right now. So little bit we tried to see it. Now we'll come back to the topic. The topic which I have chosen today is one of the major reason is that there is fundamental misunderstanding about Vedic culture, due to which it's a critical misunderstanding, crucial misunderstanding, due to which people are leaving Vedic culture or don't want to even see towards that. But actually that is the solution to many of their problems. So that's why we should be open towards Vedic culture and see what it is, how, because this misunderstanding has been pumped into the education system. As I took the history, that how the things are happening, how the attitudes towards Vedic culture changed among generations, generation by generation. The root cause of that is the flawed education system. The education that which is being taught to children generation by generation has brought this change. And there was a systematic plan behind that. It is not a topic of our today's discussion, that what was that exactly systematic plan and what are the evidence for that, because that is a political discussion. But whatever was that, there was a systematic plan to destroy Vedic culture. And that plan, the basis of that plan, the fundamental part of that plan was education. That you bring a new system of education in which what you will teach. So you teach them their Vedic culture. That was the basic fundamental. That we will teach them their Vedic culture. Who are these we? These we are not those who lived Vedic culture. These we are those who lived outside Vedic culture. And they taught Vedic culture. They developed a system of education in which Vedic culture will be taught to those who are living in Vedic culture, to children of those who are living in Vedic culture, by those who are not living in Vedic culture, with the idea that we will, if we teach like this, then they will hate their Vedic culture. So I will just take one this is my blog, and there is one article there. This is not published, but just now for showing it I have published, but otherwise it is not yet published. So this is one of the monograms or essays that is going to come. Is Vedic astrology a misnomer? There is another whole idea that astrology came from Greek, and in Vedas it came only from Greek. Actually, previously it was not there. So that is refuted. That is going to be refuted in this book which is going to come. So from there is something, but with original evidence. Now this is from M.M. Williams Sanskrit English Dictionary. Monier Williams. He is the most famous. This is the most famous Sanskrit dictionary, Sanskrit to English dictionary, and it was from British in 19th century. 19th century means 1800 something. He says, in explanation, I must draw attention to the fact that I am only the second occupant of the Borden chair for Sanskrit at Oxford, and that its founder, Colonel Borden, stated most explicitly in his will, dated August 15, 1811, that the special object of his munificent bequest was to promote the translation of scriptures into Sanskrit so as to enable his countrymen to proceed in the conversion of the natives of India to the Christian religion. This is the purpose of this chair of Sanskrit, which was established by Colonel Borden in India, in British, where they used to bring Indian intellectuals and teach them and send back. And in India also such chair was there. So he is the second occupant. Monier Williams is the second occupant of that chair. And this is Monier Williams dictionary. He is writing its preface. He is writing here in this way. So what was the purpose? Why they were translating scriptures, Sanskrit scriptures into English? This was the purpose. I have made it the chief aim of my professional life to provide facilities for the translation of our sacred scriptures into Sanskrit and for the promotion of a better knowledge of the religions and customs of India as the best key to a knowledge of the religious needs of our great Eastern dependency. My very first public lecture delivered after my election to the Borden chair in 1860 was on the study of Sanskrit in relation to missionary work in India. So they studied Sanskrit so that their missionary work can properly go on. Because anywhere you go, if you want to preach, then you need to know that language, and then you need to interpret their granthas or their scriptures from their language. So this is in Monier Williams, a Sanskrit English Dictionary, new edition, Delhi, India, Motilal Banarasi Das, 1899. Then Williams was following in the footsteps of his predecessors, H.H. Wilson. This is another big name, H.H. Wilson. These are all big names in Sanskrit to English translations, and they have translated many Vedic literatures. H.H. Wilson, the first holder of the Borden chair, would deliver public lectures to promote his cause of dismantling Vedic culture. The lectures were intended to help candidates for a prize of £200. for the best refutation of the Hindu religious system. So what he was doing, he declared 200 pounds reward and said that you submit your theses, and those theses which are the best refutation of Hindu culture, that will get 200 pounds. So like that, so he will get all the inputs, and then he will select from that and publish his own thing. Goldstucker further reveals the bias that these scholars had in studying Vedic culture. He refers to followers of Vedic culture as the enemy. This is another Goldstucker, that they have bias in studying Vedic culture. It's not studying Vedic culture or Vedic literature from a neutral or the being loyal to the Vedic literatures. They do not try to read like that. The means for, here he is saying, the means for combating the enemy is as simple as it is irresistible. A proper instruction of the growing generation in its ancient literature. In his book, Inspired Writings of Hinduism, Goldstucker assailed the validity of Vedic literature. His aim was to demonstrate to the new generation of Vedic followers that he had scholastically and highlighted their scriptures, and that they should show their appreciation by adopting European values and improving their character. So this was just something little. There are many other evidences. The system of education, this was just the beginning of that, means they were building the foundation. And then Max Muller was one of the, you can say, Arjuna in terms of, like, Max Muller was one of the very, means he had that capability to translate so many Vedic literatures. This whole series has been published, Sacred Text of Hinduism. That series has been published, and majority of the books are from Max Muller. So these all were translations, not true to Sanskrit actually. If those who know Sanskrit and read the English translations of Max Muller, H.H. Wilson, I do read sometimes, and I see there's so many flaws just deliberately put inside. Deliberately. So these are there, but there was required a system by which these to be taught. Like, they have built the foundation, but the system by which it was to be taught was put forward by now very famous among Hindutvavadis. What is his name? ये कौन बनाया मॉडर्न स्कूल सिस्टम? मक्कॉले, थॉमस मक्कॉले. So he really put into practice that what should be the syllabus, what should be taught from the beginning to a child, in which year, how, in which methodology. So he really did a good job in doing that. And then the British government also promoted that, and on the other side, the traditional teaching of the Vedic literatures which was going on in Gurukula system was being hampered by not giving them good amount of money. Money means support is to be given, some support has to be given, so that was very much restricted, and those who are giving support were also put into poverty, the Vaishyas or the farmers. So because they become in poverty, then this system will gradually die down, and that happened. So gradually this became promoted, and those Brahmanas who send their children to Gurukula, they do not get good standing, and those who don't, they send them to school, they will get good standing in the British government. And so like this, many other procedures they did, so that they can promote another understanding of Vedic literature. And then the outcomes, the result of that, you can say the graduated people from those type of thinkings had contamination. They cannot be called completely non-Vedic, but yes, they really hated the Vedic culture. For instance, Ram Mohan Roy, who we also known as Raja Ram Mohan Roy, he was one of them. Then Keshav Chandra Sen, who was another? Brahmo Samaj, the successor was who? No. Yes, something. Okay, we don't want to go into history. If you want to go into more detail, then there is a 2-series documentary, I think. Now they have made a documentary on Pratham, some website is there. Prachya, something. Means they have recently made these documentaries, but before that we were all discussing these things. So these are some of the political steps, how it came down, and it's not, many times people have questioned that if Vedic culture was so good, then how it can fall. That question usually is there. But we should be little more intelligent to not consider an utopian condition. Means things which are very good can also fall because of several reasons. The only reason for something to fall is not just because it was not good. Correct? Even good people, they may be stabbed, killed. It's not because he was good that he was killed. Or if he would have been good, he would not have been killed. It's not like that. So even logically, that's a flawed question, that if Vedic culture was so good, how it can fall. It's not a logic, means going from the logical view, it's not a logical question. There are several factors which led to its fall. But it can be revived because it is Sanatana. So we will now go into little more discussion about it. This I just put some fundamentals. That for 100 years, 120 years, around 7 generations, that has been, Vedic culture has been under attack at several levels. But still, in this India, what we call India today, plus Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and some parts of Afghanistan, this particular land still has Vedic culture in remnants. Many such things are there. And that's why you all who have been brought up, still you have so many Vedic values ingrained into you which you don't know. It just came because you have been brought up in a family life. Of course, many values have been given up, but still there are many. For instance, here in India, you take a rickshaw. When do you pay the rickshaw? After getting down, correct? So both rickshawala and rickshawala knows that he is not going to not pay me. That much faith he has. This type of faith you don't find in Western culture. Previously it was there, now it is dwindled. I will tell you in Ireland, 50 years back, there used to be tables of newspapers on the way. And people just take newspaper and there will be a box in which they will put some money. That is the cost of newspaper. And there would be no problem with any theft of that. The balance sheet will always tally. Now it is not, but that was the case. So people had good qualities. These good qualities were due to Vedic culture. So here currently also we have many such values which has been ingrained, which you don't find in those who are more modern. Like America is 2 generations ahead. of us. So you will not find that. So such type of things. So in this particular part, as we said, India, Pakistan and others, this particular tract of land is known as Bharata Khanda or Bharata Varsha proper. In this, there is a lot of hope because more pure people come here, and there is hope that these things will be revived. So that is there. But otherwise the attitudes have changed like this. So now some wave is there. So we would like to discuss this fundamental problem due to which these things dwindle down. What fundamental problem? The problem of fundamental understanding, the critical understanding. And that critical understanding is of when did Vedic culture began? When? That question. Pardon? Anything? So that is a fundamental, because you see, all along it has been established in our Vedic literatures and by those who are following the Vedic culture that Vedic culture is eternal, Sanatana. That's why the word Sanatana is there for that. But British Indological Department and the Oriental Department, both, they established it. Indological Department is a study of Indian scriptures. That is Indological Department. The fundamental thing which they attacked was the dating of Vedic culture. When did it begin? And they established some of the techniques by which they can try to show that there is a date to Vedic literature. Right now, the current belief in the modern historical parlance is that Rig Veda was the first Veda written in around 1200 BC. 1200 BC, that is there. And then other literatures, they date them. This Puranas came, Bhagavata came around 1100 AD. Manusmriti was around 900, something like that. They will go on, put all these scriptures in their dates. Those methodologies are very much flawed. Even if logically you try to see, they don't make much sense. I discussed with two of such scholars, not just simple scholars, but the university scholars who are scholars of the textual criticism. Textual criticism, those who fix the dates of text based on different editions. So they did not have answers to my questions, and they accepted that yes, there is a flaw. These are very, very weak evidence which they have, specifically when you come to Vedic literature. And I read some of the papers, specifically of Witzel. He is one of the 10 main people currently, along with Sheldon Pollock. And the way he establishes that Rig Veda has the dating 1200 years back is 3200 years back, 1200 BC, is very flawed actually. It doesn't make much logic. So that was the fundamental thing, that in India, those who live Vedic culture, they accept it as eternal. They accept it as Sanatana. It started from the beginning of the universe. While these scholars are trying to establish that it is 3200 years back it started. So when it started 200 years back, so gradually it is changing. And so modernization is also one of the cultures. So Vedic culture is also a type of that culture. Now we have this culture. So culture means people get together and accept that we will live this type of life. this lifestyle, that becomes culture. Its mutual acceptance of a way of life becomes culture of that particular group who accepted it. This is what people think of culture. It may be true for most cultures around the world which we know of, like Roman civilization or different others. But at least for Vedic culture, that's not true. Because Vedic culture doesn't, actually speaking, Vedic culture did not depend on people mutually getting together and accepting a way of life. It was dependent on Vedas, which were texts not datable. They were not datable texts that these people have written. It was not like that. And up till now, if you go into discussion, Vedas cannot be dated. Vedas cannot be dated. Whatever techniques they have found has a lot of flaws. For instance, they would try to date a text from the life of its manuscript. That's a very useless thing, because when something is kept put in written, it doesn't mean at that time it came into existence. Correct? The knowledge can be in oral form. So that doesn't make much sense. It can say that at least these years old it is, but not that at most this years old. Because if you want to date a text, that means you have to say at most this. Then only its origin will be found, correct? So you can say at least 1200 years old, but you cannot say at most 1200 years old if you are thinking from the textual, means the life cycle of the manuscripts. The second thing they try is the language structure, the style of language. They try to compare at different places. That's also very bad. It's flawed thing, because it bases itself on the assumption that different periods had different language styles, and all language styles would have emerged from the previous language style. That assumption is there. But actually, practically also we see that depending on the persons who we are talking to, depending on the subject which we are talking, the type of language changes. Correct? The lecture which I am giving you right now in English language, subject is the same, Sanatana Dharma, when did it start? If I discuss this with a textual criticism scholar, a complete different language will be there. The sentence structure. I am the same person, at the same time, these are simultaneously existing, these type of languages. So that they do not take into account. And that's why they try to put in different categories that, this style was found before and this way and that way. So anyway, these are like very rudimentarily I'm just telling. In detailed seminar we can discuss this threadbare, that which particular text like that. So then the third thing that see that in this particular text, in this particular say Purana, some Veda is mentioned, so that Veda must have been before this, and this Purana must have been after that. Correct? That's very logical. Thing which is mentioned somewhere must predate it, must be before it. Okay? So, but in Vedic literatures, what the problem comes, there are cross references. One text mentions, say for example, text 1 mentions text 2, and text 2 mentions text 1. Text 1 mentions text 7. Text 7 will mention text 1 and 2 both. So there are cross references. So you are not going to solve by this. So then they have to start assuming that the text 1 was the first text actually, but then it was rewritten to involve also text 2. So that way it has to be rewritten several number of times, and the rewritten thing are not available as evidence with them, or the previous additions are not available as evidence. So it's just assumption. The only thing, the direct by this logic, by this particular evidence that all the texts are referring each other, the easiest conclusion which we come to is all must be existing simultaneously. Correct? Then they can cross refer. But they will not do that, because otherwise their thesis will break, because then they cannot date the Vedas. So like this, there are many such faults in dating technique. So how to date Veda? How to date any text? Any text. Say for example, your book is there. So who wrote it and when it was written is written in the book. You have to accept what is written there. You cannot start, okay, what is the age of this page? What is the style of the language? You can't do like that. So similarly, in the Vedic literatures, it is said, it is Sanatana. It is not written. It has come everywhere in Vedic literature. It has come when the universe began. At that time, it has come. So that's the point. So that's why Vedic literature was accepted as Sanatana all over Vedic culture, and that had been attacked, that no, it has that. So that particular construct or explanation was taught to the new generation. That is only version which can be taught in schools. You cannot teach that Vedas are eternal. In the school, if at all they are teaching Vedas or anything in history, that history this came, so you can't even mention that such a construct of Vedic literatures being eternal is there. And there is a lot of, we have been kept unaware of that, but actually much deep discussion about the eternality of the Vedas is there in the Vedas itself. Very logical, very detailed. And there had been so many debates based on that, which we are unaware of, which we have not been exposed to. But we have been exposed to, okay, Rig Veda is 1200 years old, 3200 years old, then came this, Vedic culture began like this. So that's a systematic brainwashing about Vedic culture. So 6 generations of brainwashing, 6 to 7 generations. That is the result, that what conceptions we have about Vedic literature and Vedic culture, currently what we have now, that those conceptions we have. So it's all muddled up with all these wrong ideas which we have been taught, and gradually people are becoming aware of and awake towards Vedic culture, but still these wrong ideas, they catch hold on. So now I will show you one particular image and would like you to tell me what it is. What it is. In Hindi you can tell mainly. Adivasi. So Adivasi means those who lived before. Correct? Adivasi, those who lived before on the earth. Which means that those who lived before, the conception, see this conception, we have the conception of history. What is history? How the universe began and how we are here now. What are the steps? So that historical conception, in that we have the idea that humans, modern humans called Homo sapiens sapiens, they came into existence. This species came into existence around 2 lakh years before. Okay? And gradually, this type of beings were there. These are called, that's why Adi Manav. Previously, those who lived in jungles, they were killing people, killing animals, eating. Then some little bit language started by just bringing out some voice and it was helpful in killing different animals. So they got together, started living, and then they started living importance of water, so they started living on the banks of river. They understood the importance of growing things, so they started farming. So agriculture started around 10,000 to 15,000 years back. That is what is our conception. This is our conception of history. This is the Darwinian evolutionary conception of history. So remember, Darwin is the father of modernization. Darwin is the father because his theory is the root of many other theories, historical revisions, everything. So this is what actually the case. So we consider him Adi Manav, but actually he is a jungle dweller. There were people living in forest right from the beginning when the universe started. It's not just so, and there were people living in cities or villages doing farming right from the beginning of universe. That is what we understand from Vedic literatures. But this is the historical concept. So we have to re-question these concepts which we have studied in schools, because we have been taught, so we accepted it, and some evidence was given, but now we are finding, even the scientists are finding, those evidences either they were forged evidences. In most cases they were forged, and in some cases they were actually not so strong evidence. For instance, everybody would have studied that embryo shapes of different species in their beginning stage, and all look similar. So that is an evidence that previously everyone was same, and from that different species came. Haeckel's diagram, embryo diagram, that was a forgery. It actually didn't look same. He just made it up, and no one questioned it. For 150 years it was taught into textbooks. For more details, you just purchase here. There will be Rethinking Darwin book. A lot of details is there, and with all original references. So this Darwinian evolutionary theory that revolutionized the concept of history, that what happened before. That's why one of the revolutionary thing it had was that human beings came up only before 2 lakh years, and the civilization started not before 10,000 years. So that's it. Any text, religion, or whosoever it is, any culture, if they want to claim that they are bona fide, they have to be inside this 10,000 years period. Correct? So then comes, what about Vedic culture? No, this is eternal. What eternal? 10,000 years before only it started. Even the human beings started living together. What to speak of having any culture? So there comes. So this is a very fun. This is where the root point is. The revision of history due to Darwinian evolution. So that's why this particular picture I have put. So actually Darwinian evolution is a fake theory. It has been disproved actually. So we should also be questioning anything that is based on that. So our historical understanding should also be questioned based on that, and we should try to rethink over the old historical explanations which were given to us by the Vedic literatures. So we have been taught these things. So when did Vedic culture start? So old explanation is it didn't start from the beginning, it is there. New explanation is it must be inside 10,000 years, so it is 3,002 years, 200 years, or 5,000 years back it started. And many other cultures also are there, and they are doing like this. So this is a basic misunderstanding. So now there are many people who pitch for Sanatana Dharma, that okay, Sanatana Dharma is good, great, very good. But they have this misunderstanding that Sanatana Dharma is a way of life which is very good specifically to Indians, and that The Vedic literature are the books written by our scientists, by our old scientists who are very intelligent Indian scientists, and their things really work. So that is not the right understanding of Sanatana Dharma. That is not the right understanding of Vedic literature. The right understanding of Vedic literature we have to find out. We have to really go back to our roots. So Sanatana means eternal. It started from the beginning of the universe. Now this Dharma, we have these two words, correct? Sanatana and Dharma. Sanatana and Dharma. This Dharma word has also important thing. This is the concept of Dharma. Dharma comes from Dhridhatu, that which sustains. It means that which sustains, or the sustainable characteristic of something is called its Dharma. For instance, sugar. The sugar is known as sugar because of its sweetness. If it is not sweet, it won't be called sugar. So sweetness sustains the identity of sugar, and that's why sugar's dharma is sweetness. This is an example. Similarly, this whole universe, the whole universe has its characteristic. The universe is sustained by its constituents. Everything, planets are there, laws are there, people are there, humans as well as animals and everyone. Each and every constituent of the universe has its function to sustain universe. As in a machine, you have different parts, correct? Each part is designed for a particular purpose, and when it serves its purpose, then it sustains the machine, the functioning of the machine. Anything does not work according to its design, then the machine doesn't work properly, correct? Similarly, the whole universe is like that, and that each and every part of this universe is designed to perform certain functions, and they are performing, and that's why universe runs. This conception of universe, this particular conception of universe is called Dharma. It's a part of this Dharma. This is very central part. This conception is very central part. That universe functions by its constituents, and each constituent has its particular function in the universe. For instance, there are so many animals, birds, and you see in nature, they have all their particular functions, correct? And they act according to that. And if we subtract someone, then things become problematic, correct? For example, agriculture. Agriculture depends on so many different insects, birds, soil, microorganisms. So everything works perfectly, nicely, and things become sustainable. The agriculture becomes sustainable. But we tried to remove certain thing by providing the fertilizer, urea or DAP. So initially it was very good, but ultimately it became unsustainable because of the organisms are not there, or they're reduced in number, so their input become out. For instance, the input of earthworms. So when the earthworms input is not there or less, then soil becomes hard, then there is less humus, then whatever even chemical you put, it won't be absorbed by plants. Plants become very weak, they become attacked by pests, then you have to put pesticides, and which are also poisonous, then humans eat that, and then humans also become weak. So whole cycle got disturbed. That means it is not sustainable. It was going on sustainably, but the constituents didn't work properly, so things become unsustainable. So practically we see, every field you see, it is like this. Humans were going nicely, we tried to change something, and this is the result. So same thing, everywhere it repeats. So it's a repeatable pattern which we see in nature, even in our visible history. So that conception that universe is sustained by its constituents have their specific function to do, and it should act like that. So that is the conception of universe. That conception is called Dharma. So Sanatana Dharma means that the universe, the functions of each and everything inside the universe are eternally defined, that they should be doing like this, and accordingly they should act. If you are a dog, you should act like dog. If you are a man, you should act like man. If you are a monkey, you should act like monkey. So that is the conception of Sanatana Dharma. Now Sanatana Dharma in specific terms with respect to human beings are the functions given to human beings, that human beings should act like this. So this is like the minimum definition of Sanatana Dharma, and they are going to remain like that. These are the real laws of universe, you can say. The undeniable laws of universe. We may out of ignorance say, okay, no problem, I am not going to follow it, but you will suffer. You will suffer if you don't do that, because it's a law of universe. Now you may not be able to understand it. It's not that everything, if we understand, then only it becomes right, correct? So we may not be able to understand it, but because it is laws of universe, so we suffer if we don't do that. So that is the least definition of Sanatana Dharma, the eternal laws by which a human being should act. That's called Sanatana. And these eternal laws are, with regards to human beings at least, they are given in literature called Vedic literature. And because these laws are eternal, that's why the literature which it gives it, brings it to us, are also eternal. They are transferred from the eternal realm to us. And how it can be eternal? Because it is transferred through people who live it. They give it to the next generation, they give it to the next generation, they give it to the next generation. In that way, the eternality is maintained, and wherever there will be discrepancies, because things become deteriorated over time, not following properly, so there were systems to put it back into track, back onto track. And if that is not put back onto track, then the civilization becomes disturbed and it dwindles, finishes. So like that. So that is one of the important points, that we should understand Sanatana Dharma or Vedic lifestyle, which you say is eternal, Sanatan. And that is the lifestyle meant for human beings. And the fundamental behind that lifestyle is that soul is eternal. Soul is also eternal. Means you all are from India, so you know this concept of eternal life. Soul is eternal, and it changes the body from human being to animal or others. Or it can become liberated and go to the spiritual world, which is eternal. So soul is eternal, and this is the lifestyle, the Vedic lifestyle, which among human beings is given in Vedic literature, is actually the lifestyle preferred to be lived in the spiritual world, the world beyond this material world, which is called the spiritual world, where there is no destruction. We all are souls, and our real home is there. So we have to go there. Right now we are suffering here, birth, death, old age, disease. So we have to go there. So this lifestyle is lived there also, and it comes here from there. That's why it is really eternal. That lifestyle, that Sanatana Dharma, the lifestyle of the soul, is there in the spiritual world like this. And when soul comes here, then also it is given to him, you live like this, at least in human form. You live like this. So that is also given here. So we practice it here, and that's why it is beneficial. So in a real sense, it is also eternal. Means in the eternal world also it is there, and that is our purpose behind this Sanatana Dharma coming here in this material world. The purpose is this, that this Sanatana Dharma, because it is soul's lifestyle, so you should also live it, and that will give benefit. So that is one of the main reasons why Varnashrama, what we say Sanatana Dharma, that Varnashrama Dharma. So that lifestyle is preferred, or that is given in Vedic literatures, because that is beneficial for our spiritual advancement. So I read this now. What we discussed here, history. So we said that when did it start? So starting means in time. Starting means in time. Some before that it was not there, and then it started. Correct. So theoretically, at least one thing is Sanatan. What is that? Logically, time is Sanatan. It's a logical thing. Because when did time start, you cannot say. Because when the question of when came, that means inside in time. So you, if you question when did time start, no one can answer. Because when did time start, how you can answer? So that's why time is considered eternal in Vedic literatures, Sanatana Kala. So now here is the Vedic explanation of time. That how time comes, where are we, and how the things go. Because right now we are discussing history. So, see, currently we are here, this particular place. This Dwapar Yuga is ended, and 5,000 years after Dwapar Yuga, we are somewhere here. Now the modern historians only knows little bit. They have records only till here, not more than that. That also many are flawed records, because modern history started very late. So they have the concept of linear time. Means they think time goes in only one direction. That's it. So even biblical explanations and the Quranic explanations of time are all linear time, not cyclic time. Once the universe was created, and it will get finished. It was 6,000 years back it was created, and it will finish soon. We will announce the date. So that's just a single flow of events. So if you see any cyclic thing, if you take a very small part of that, it will be linear. Correct? You all are engineer students, so you all know. It will be linear. So the reason behind that is that because their culture is not very old, the knowledge which comes in their culture is not very old, so they have very limited historical understanding, because of which they see it as linear. But the cultures which have been there for many yugas, so they know that things repeat over time. That's why they have understanding that time is cyclic. Cyclic time means things repeat. In our normal condition, we see things repeat, the events repeat, correct? Every year there will be seasons which get repeated, correct? Every day and night becomes repeated. So things repeat. So similarly, bigger and bigger cycles are there. The cycles of events like sunrise and sunset is a one-day event. Seasons are, say, 3 months events. Some things are like yearly event. So there are events which are like many thousands of years they repeat after many thousands of years. So this is called cyclic time. So now if we go little bit away. This is gray part is called Kali Yuga in Shastras, in Vedic literatures. This is 4,32,000 years duration. It started here. And Kali Yuga has its pattern of events that is going to come, which have been mentioned in Bhagavatam and other Puranas. And accordingly things are happening right now, we are seeing. So it's not that they are very big forecasters. They have some calculations by which they know. So many such Kali Yugas have passed, so many times smartphones have come, so many times internet and laptops have come, so many times the men have kept long hairs. So many times there had been systems in which there were so many divorces. They all know it. That's why they have already given Shastras already there, because the events are following the pattern which is given in Shastra. Because it is eternal, Shastra is eternal. So those events are also having a pattern which is already mentioned in Shastra. So this Kali Yuga is having a certain pattern of activities that will go on for 4,32,000 years. Before that was Dwapara Yuga, you see in blue, which is 8,64,000 years duration. Years here means our years. That means sunrise, sunset, one day, 365 such days is 1 year. Then the green is Treta Yuga, which is 12,96,000 years. And yellow one is Satyuga. Okay? So this way you are going in history more and more. So this yellow one finishes here and the Kali Yuga starts. This was the previous Kali Yuga. And it was the same pattern of events. Okay? So this is one Chatur Yuga cycle, you say. This is second Chatur Yuga cycle. Then comes next Chatur Yuga cycle. Chatur Yuga means 4 yugas. So like that it goes on. It goes on till one day of Brahma, which consists of 1,000 such Chatur Yugas. Like this, time is going on. Eternal time goes on. That means the events goes on repeating in this pattern again and again and again. In one day of Brahma, one event repeats. One event has a repetition time of one day of Brahma, and that is Krishna Avatara. Krishna comes once in one day of Brahma. That's a repetition in one day. So such many days of Brahma are there, see. So many Brahma's days is going on. So many days. Every day Brahma see Krishna Avatara. Okay, the power is gone. This is on still? Okay. So this was one day of Brahma, this is 1 year of Brahma. Okay. So you see cycles, it goes on in cycling. And such, what we said, 1 year of Brahma. And such 100 years Brahma lives. Okay, this is life cycle of Brahma. Brahma is the secondary creator of this universe. Means God we say is creator of universe. Then one who is creator of the universe, this is the engineer of the universe. He has the longest life duration inside the universe, except few beings. So this is his life cycle, 100 years. Brahma lives such 100 years. And such one universe, this is one universe, this is second, this is third, this is fourth. So there are innumerable such universes. So now outside the universe is the eternal realm which we have come to. So in this eternal realm, these universes are coming into being and getting destroyed by time. So time is the factor that connects universe to this. So, and according to Vedic literatures, this creation and destruction of universe is coming through Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu breathes. So in the eternal spiritual world, time is not binding. But here it becomes binding because universe has to stay in between Mahavishnu's breathing period. So it becomes bound there. Mahavishnu has bound us. That okay, your life duration starts now. When I breathe out, and when I will breathe in, by that time you have to finish all your activities. That means the reference is set. These many years you have, then everything goes, all the events get its reference. So this relative time inside the material world, this our universe is, that comes from here, which is eternal. The eternal becomes, the eternal gets the relative nature in this way. So this is how is explained in our Vedic literatures. Now this concept of cyclic time is not there in any other civilization. And it cannot be just imagined by anyone actually. It is coming because it is really there eternally, and those who know it are bringing it to us. And it makes really a sense, because the things are repeating and what they say is also happening. We see in Kali Yuga also. So we should be thinking over, we should be trying to understand this type of concept of time, that universe begins in this way, and the lifestyle is beyond universe, which comes when the universe starts. It becomes established there. And logically speaking, we have experience anywhere you go. Correct. Previously this place would not have been so many buildings here. So when it is decided that something will be built here, so first of all some people will come here, take a survey, then bring the materials here, make a map what should be built, and then who are going to live here. Accordingly there will be arrangements, some water should be there, something to eat should be there, some roads should be there. These all planning goes behind before you build something in an empty place. The purpose is to house some people who will stay here. Similarly, these universes are built to house some souls who will stay here. So what needs they will have? They will need a body, they will need some materials, they will need a place to stay. So all these things are made. So it's a very similar concept. So this is called the personal concept of universe, not just based on laws. Current science is a physical understanding of the universe, that it is just based on laws. There is no person behind it. But this is a personal concept of universe, in which persons are behind universe, persons are maintaining the universe, laws are there set by persons to maintain the universe. So laws are there, but persons are there behind that. So that way everything starts making sense, that the lifestyle could be there which are lived by those persons, which they are putting here for us to live. So by this we will end here. I think there was no analog clocks, I could not see, but it's exactly 8 o'clock. So there is a lot more to say, and I am not a very organized speaker, so that's why I don't make slides. So I just show what I had something. So now we can take questions, discussions, something for some time. Yes, please. Yes.
As you have discussed about the importance of Vedic culture and Sanatana Dharma, it's very important for a being to pursue his life in the way that the Vedic literature has stated. So, like the people before Kali Yuga used to live in that way, like which is written in the Vedas. So
even before 200 years, people used to live like this. Even 150 years before. I think we want to be 150 years before.
So the very essence that the Mahatmas and the saints which have given the idea that the human must get the Bhagavad Prapti, like he should achieve the God. So this way of living, which is Vedic living, does it ensure that the person who pursue it will get the Bhagavad Prapti?
Okay.
And the persons who are not living in that way, will they ever get Bhagavad Prapti? Because in the today's world we are so far from
Okay.
Vedic culture.
So basically the question is how important or inevitable, not say inevitable, how essential is Vedic culture for attaining God realization or Bhagavad Prapti. Correct? That's the basic question. The idea is that if someone lived Vedic culture or is living in Vedic culture fully, is it guaranteed that he will get God realization? And if someone is not living in Vedic culture, is it guaranteed that he will not get God realization? That is the question. God realization is supported by Vedic culture. It is not essential for Vedic culture, but it supports God realization. It is designed by God for us to realize Him. So it supports it. For instance, to support it. So even a person who lives not in Vedic culture can still realize God if he is following the procedures to realize God. The procedures to realize God are called abhideya. The foremost of that is bhakti yoga. So if one is performing bhakti yoga very seriously and sincerely, he can still realize God. And if one is following Vedic culture fully, but not following the procedure to realize God, then he will not realize God. Correct? For instance, Ravana, he was following the procedures against God realization. So he is not going to realize God, he is going to go opposite of that. Correct? So that is the understanding. Now, then what is the use of Vedic culture? Yes, the use is it supports God realization. The procedures of God realization which we follow, along with that, Vedic culture supports us to follow those procedures as well as becoming purified. For instance, I just give simple example, then you will understand better. You can, you all are here, for sometimes some of you are attending these things, so you may be chanting a few rounds. Say for example, I myself, I am following this for last 22 years. So, I am chanting 16 rounds of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Now, I can go to a pub, sit there and chant 16 rounds. Okay? Between all the prostitutes dancing there, Vaishyas. So, will I get affected? That particular place I go and chant 16. The procedure is same, chanting 16 rounds to have God realization. And I come to temple, sit here among devotees and chant 16 rounds. So will I be able to realize God or not? Where I will be able to realize God? Will I be able to realize God? Now someone may say, even there sitting in pub, you can still realize God if you are sincere enough to chant 16 rounds. Yes. But how many such people are there? And are we so fortunate that without that support, so that we will be able to realize God? The idea is that if we are serious to realize God, then we try to make situations more and more favorable for that. Correct? So that is the whole thing. The Vedic culture, it's a culture of spiritual world anyway. So it brings us more towards God and it is helpful for God realization procedures. So that's why one who is sincere, he understands. Now there may be situation that he doesn't have situation in his hands. That anyway I have to be in pub, what to do? These people have put me, haath per bandhi either, like this. So what can I do? Everyone is dancing, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. That's a different thing, then God will understand. But I have all facilities, I can go to temple and chant and still I go to pub and chant, then probably I am not very sincere. Correct? So this is the explanation. Okay. Other questions? Yes.
So you mentioned about overall we understood about the importance and the greatness of Vedic culture, but at the same time now in our modern education things are taught in such a way that the Vedic culture was very discriminative and oppressive in many ways, even within like for instance
Gender discrimination was there.
and also even among men such
Men. Gradations of Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. That's called social stratification. Technical term for that is social stratification, the hierarchical structure of which is called patriarchal structure.
So how do you understand this in a holistic way? That
How do we understand these type of discriminations? We have to fundamentally challenge our understanding of discrimination, because we have been taught that any type of discrimination is wrong. But discrimination cannot be avoided. Nature does discrimination, correct? That's the whole thing. So many species are there. It's a discrimination. Inside human beings, there are males and females. Discrimination. Correct? In your VIT, everyone may be very much, many sincere students will be there who will be working very hard to crack exams. But how many of them are capable enough to do that? Correct? I have my example. I had my very good friend Rushi when I was in college, and I didn't used to study anything. Still, when I appear for exams, I will get around 80 to 90%. And he would, on the exam day, the day before that or a few days before that, he would sit, I would be sleeping, he would sit beside me and go on working every night for 8 hours, 10 hours for tomorrow's or day after tomorrow's exam. And whenever there is a problem, he will ask me, then I will explain, and still he will fail. Now, is this not discrimination? There are different capabilities of different people, not just in human beings, everywhere. So, discrimination is intelligence. To recognize that there are differences is intelligent. It is foolish to say that everything is same, correct? Because everything is not same. Everything is not same. You cannot say that a cat and a tiger are one and the same. Correct? Otherwise you will lose your life. So discrimination is not wrong, because nature has differences. The only thing is, what wrong is that wrong discrimination is wrong. Wrong discrimination means discrimination not out of knowledge, but out of one's malintention. That is wrong. Wrong intention. I will discriminate against this because I don't like him. A man will discriminate against woman because he hates woman. That's wrong. But men and women are different people. They have different mentalities, they have different bodily structures. So discrimination, to discriminate that this is woman and this is man, is not wrong. That's intelligence. But if the man says that because this is woman, so I will hate him, I will not allow her this, allow her that, that's wrong. So as we studied, that universe has its laws. Everyone has his function in the universe. So similarly, women have been given one particular function. For that, their body and mind is there. And men have been given one particular function. And for that, their body and mind is there. How many men can so nice with children? How many hours you can do this? Tell me. Frankly, you can't. After 10 minutes you say that. But women can go on doing this their whole life. Even they are very old ladies, they will be doing this with children. Is this not difference? Is this no difference? There is difference. And they will be happy doing that. Because nature has made them for that particular purpose. They have womb, they have children, they have to take care of children. If they are not there, then children will start shooting people, as is going on in US, because they have been brought up without love. So they consider everything as machine. They start killing, they are frustrated. So this is the result of your non-discrimination society. Because that is not knowledge, that is ignorance. So discrimination in Vedic culture was based on the real knowledge, based on the real roles of people in the universe. That was discrimination.
Can I ask a follow-up question to that?
Yes, please.
Yeah, you just justified not discrimination, categorization based on biological
Yes.
and psychological
Makeup.
makeup of beings and things. But in the Vedas, it is based on profession, right?
Based on profession.
Yeah. The Brahmins, the Kshatriyas have this profession.
Yes. So the profession was given based on psychological and physical makeup. That was the point. So it's not based on just profession. Chaturvarnya maya srishtam guna karma vibhagasha. Guna and karma. Guna means qualities, karma means profession. So not just profession, qualities. So according to qualities, karmas are there, profession is there.
So is it right to say, according to the Vedas, if you have the guna, you can take that profession?
Yes, it is there, it is there. It is based on guna and karma. It's not just, but Krishna has made, you see how excellent system he has made. Say for example, you are a Brahmana, by profession, by quality. You are a family man. Your child, he doesn't have qualities of Brahmana. He has qualities of Shudra. He always remains unclean and this way, that way. Okay? So how much you will feel bad, correct? Not just bad, it will be mismatch in the family, correct? Similarly, you have many children and all are of different things. It becomes mismatch. From the beginning, you can't learn the whole thing. So Krishna made the system that if one is following his guna, varna properly, then the soul will come to his house as child of the same category. So it becomes almost the same, that person's lineage wise this profession will be there. So in that way it was going on. But when we started not following varnas properly, then different souls started coming and then there was a mismatch. So currently you may find, especially in North India, there is more, that you will find mismatch of qualities between father and his son. So this is how the whole universe system works. Karmana daiva netrena jantu deha upapatti. That according to the soul's previous backlog of karma, he will get a particular body. So where he will get a particular body is also decided by the devas, that this particular family I will give. For instance, if you want to become a good engineer, then your father would see that a particular proper engineering college should be there. Then I will put him there. Similarly, this soul has to be trained in this particular qualities, this particular karma. So it should be put in this particular family where he will get training from the beginning of his life. So that is how the janma also, the birth criteria also starts merging into or matches into, sinking into. But that birth criteria becomes loose in today's age because people are not following their varna properly. So that is the
So that was fine.
time is up. That's what he says.
So it's a
Last question.
stereotype to say that in the Vedas it's written that if a Brahmin has to only be Brahmin, right?
Yes, it is a stereotype. But that stereotype was good as long as the samskaras or the varna following was going on good. And that is how the society can be stable. But unfortunately, that is not the case now. So gradually we have to move towards that gradually. Currently by guna karma, and then gradually the lineages have to be established. So that society becomes more stable. Okay. Now time is up, and
You can answer questions after prasadam.
yeah, we will be having prasadam, and questions could be asked there also. Those who, you can also fill a form, and if sufficient number of people are there, then we can think or having a more detailed course on this. Thank you very much for coming. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.